Hello and welcome everybody to the last panel of the night and of UConnect's Collegiate Rising event. Before we start, I want to thank the moderators, speakers, staff members, and everyone who contributed
Hi.
to this awesome event, especially the viewers and you guys, the students, who have been watching all weekend long. I hope you guys had a lot of fun and gained a lot of value from just everything going on. So our guest is a super special person tonight. She's been working in and contributing to esports for over a decade. You most likely have seen her in many esports productions, such and as a host and interviewer for games ranging from StarCraft and Hearthstone all the way to PUBG. And also, as a fun fact, she's probably the biggest Pokemon fan you will ever meet. It is my honor to welcome Rachel Quirico, also known as Seltzer. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, what a lovely intro, Peter. Thank you so much. Yeah, a lot of esports, but my heart is for Pokemon. It's true.
Yes, you even got like a Pokemon like dock right there for your Switch in the back. I see you.
I'm in my own bedroom. There's a lot more Pokemon stuff than you can see on camera right now, but I'm not gonna turn the. It's not all nicely organized.
I totally understand. So yeah, so tonight we're just going to be talking about your journey in esports, right? Your journey going from a player to a host, interviewer, and all the things that you've done and how you got to where you are now. And I think a lot of students and the viewers you're listening in and watching can learn from your story. So I'm super excited to get this going. You ready?
Yeah, I hope so. And I'm going to try my best not to slap my microphone over the course of this. But if I do, I'm sorry now.
No problem. All right.
Hosting from home, it's different.
Oh, dude, tell me about it. So how did you get your start in esports?
It's when I think about where I got started in esports, I think of like when I actually started like going to competitive gaming events, which would have been in high school. But really like competitive gaming and the kind of wider world around it of like, I don't know, to call it like nerd culture. Like I've always been attending Pokemon League tournaments since I was like 9 years old at Toys R Us, going to card game tournaments, Wizards of the Coast stores, card game stores, stuff like that. So I had like this background of seeking out these kind of like niche entertainment groups and activities, and that's sort of like kind of how I found my way into gaming. I got to high school. I met my boyfriend at the time, still my boyfriend. We started like competing in video games on the same team together, just going to like local events and trying to like collect free stuff, mostly from like the booths that would hand out free stuff. From there, we sort of opened our eyes to this wider world of esports, and both of us really just went headlong into it.
Wow. And if I'm not mistaken, the first game or like the first big game that you were super competitive in was TF2, right?
Yeah, this was back in like 2007. I think TF2 came out maybe earlier than that. It came out in the orange box, which was like really popular.
Oh yeah.
At the time, it had Portal and stuff in it too. And yeah, we just really went hard in Team Fortress 2. There was a bunch of online leagues then. You would go to like TWL, Total Warfare League or something, and sign up your team, and then you'd have to you'd get a time, you'd meet the other team in like a private server. Both of you would have to record the match and submit it into the website from your perspective afterwards. Everyone in your team had to do that. Both teams had to verify the score, and that's how these websites would keep track of things back in the day. So esports, I kind of got to visit it in all its different phases as it grew up into what it is now.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you also went to LANs to compete too, right?
Yes, LANs have always been a very interesting part of competitive gaming. In 2009, I went to DreamHack in Sweden just as an attendee. Again, my boyfriend and I just got like seats on the floor of that massive LAN. Stuff like QuakeCon, even like anime conventions, going to those and going into like the video game room and playing like Smash Brothers. But yeah, getting together to play video games, especially LAN, we were overnight for several days in a row, is an experience, and I hope we can get back to it one day.
Yeah, actually a fun fact, because we are in a collegiate event. I know actually I think you went to Rutgers, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So you went to Rutgers, I went to RIT, and I heard that you were actually at one of RIT's LAN parties and you came over to kick our asses for a TF2 tournament. I heard about that from way back in the day.
Man, did you hear about that from like some traumatized staff and students?
Maybe,
we rolled
yeah.
up taking it like so serious. This was like some cool college club, and they're just really relaxed and really welcoming. And I rolled up with my friends, and we were like, "We're gonna crush!" And they're like, "Okay, yeah, whatever, just crush over there." Like,
collegiate competition was happening like way back then, the early 2010s.
Oh yeah, RIT was definitely at the forefront though. They've always had a strong esports community. Even when I was at Rutgers at the time, we had nothing like it. So shout out to your collegiate alma mater.
Thank you so much. And so how do we make the transition from like playing competitively to becoming interested in hosting or doing interviews?
It was actually like a really like watershed moment where I had been competing. I've been playing on teams. I was playing a PC FPS, and I decided, oh well, I'm okay at PC FPS. Maybe I'll try like console fighting games. Maybe I'll get really into that, or maybe I'll try like I was at this point where I had discovered esports, and now I really wanted to find the perfect fit for me. And so I was competing in Team Fortress 2, but I was trying to find these other games that might work out. And right around the same time, this show, WCG Ultimate Gamer on Sci-Fi, came out. And on the first season, I think I knew almost the entire cast. It was women from PMS Clan that I had known for many years. It was people that I competed against from events around the country. And so this show, WCG Ultimate Gamer, was about competing in a bunch of different games and then competing in like real life versions of them. We're all gamers. Nobody was great at that part. And it was this really clear. It was an amazing show, and all I wanted was to be on the second season. And I worked my butt off, and I trained in all these games. And like, just think of like the cheesiest like '90s movie montage of me like in the arcade, and then like me playing Guitar Hero because I thought that you could play licensed music on TV, which you can't do. So Guitar Hero and other rhythm games were never a part of it. But I got on season 2. I was on season 2 with amazing gamers like Justin Wong, CDN. He's a big streamer on Twitch now. Kat Gunn, who ultimately won the show, who was just probably one of the best gamers I've ever met in my whole life. And I brought my skills to that conversation, and they were not enough. And I would watch. They would give us a game, and they'd be like, "Okay, in 2 days you have to compete in this game," and they would hand you like a brand new package. We'd all rip it open and pop it in the Xbox and start playing on it or something. And then I'd look over at Justin Wong, and Justin Wong is reading the whole booklet at the front. He's memorizing some input stuff. He sits down, picks up the controller, and it was like, and I was like, okay, I don't know what I thought. I'm not good at video games. Like I love video games. I love people who play video games, and I have so much respect for the work that goes into executing video games at the highest level. And so over the course of filming the show, I wasn't the best gamer, but I did get called in a lot to do the sort of talking parts of the show where they would be like, last week we went to the park and we did that. And, all the verbal fill in, all the storytelling part of the show. And so when I was done with that WCG experience, I had 2 big learnings. One, that I wasn't good enough to compete in video games. I just didn't have that skill. But I did have another skill which could really serve the video game community, which was telling the story of gamers respectfully, doing the research, being able to understand what they were saying and translating that for the mainstream. So coming out of Ultimate Gamer, that's what I went hard in. I went hard in making content around my fellow gamers. I teamed up with Andrew Tomlinson for Cyber Sports Network, which eventually became the greatest agency in the world, Character Select Agency, which represents a ton of top tier esports talent today. But yeah, it was redirecting my passion, being honest with myself, and really thinking about what I was good at and what I could contribute.
Wow. And were you always like really good on camera? In terms of like speaking and all of that stuff?
No, my friend. No, I was not. There's my very first video. I was lucky enough when I was doing these events, and right before I did Ultimate Gamer, I would work for PMS Clan. I would go and team up with a booth like Sapphire Video Cards, and you would come to the booth at the video game event, and you would play against me. And if you won, you get a video card. And only 2 people won all weekend. I did not give away a lot of video cards, but through working like booths and stuff like that, doing like the booth babe stuff as it was called back in the day. Oh yeah. I got to meet up with some other people who are also interested in video games, NoobTube TV. So I got to shout out Aaron Hassel, Jason Barbosa, 2 guys who I met in like 2006 or 7. They were like, I think you could do some on-camera interview stuff. We want to interview you, but we liked how you were on camera. Come be our on-camera person. Bless them. I don't know what they saw, because in the first probably 20 videos I recorded with them, I am shaking and sweating, and they're terrible. We just threw them away. But it was so instrumental in my learning process to do those things, to be really bad, to see where I was really bad, and to work with people who cared enough about me getting good to give me critical feedback at those moments. So no, I was not good at the start.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like gaming competitively. You have to really suck first, and to be able to see where those points of improvement are in order to get a lot better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, shout outs to you for being so brave because I know being on camera like isn't easy for everybody. Speaking about having the skills or learning how to do that, what did you go to college for? What was your major? Did you major in anything like communications or production?
I actually majored in psychology, and I have to say, when I was choosing my classes for college, when I was in college, I didn't really see gaming as the career option for me. I was still thinking like, this is a fun hobby, this is a nice weekend thing, this is maybe I can work events here and there and stay involved in this world. But I need a career, and I need to figure out what I wanted to do. And I very much wanted to be a therapist, someone that talks with people. And so the things I did to accomplish that are I studied psychology in college, which was, if you don't know what to study, studying psychology is actually an amazing toolkit to give yourself to kind of like hack your own brain in very benign ways, but to kind of like, you really see your behavior from a secondary perspective once you learn to recognize certain things through psychology. And it allows you to kind of have that great third person view of yourself every once in a while that is
Mhm.
very helpful when you have to then create a persona to bring on camera. But that is a skill that, I mean, I was in retail, I was in food service, I was in a ton of different jobs before I became an esports host, and psychology served me extremely well in all of them. So I always tell, if you're a little undecided about a college major, it's a phenomenal choice, or even just like a minor, some side classes. Try it out.
Yeah, maybe some elective classes too, right? That would help out in like the future if you want to go the route of interviewing or hosting. I remember you and I we talked a little bit before about learning how to ask more concise questions or taking strategic notes because I know while working with you at NPL, like I was so impressed by the way you had she has this notebook full of information and she would sit there and take in everything that was presented to her, whether it was from the casters or whether it was from the players. How did school kinda help you prepare for those aspects of hosting and interviewing?
Well, working a little backwards from there, and thank you, Peter. That's a lovely compliment to have been seen working very hard. It's what I have to do to be able to do my job, and so like it's what I've learned about myself, and it's the tool that I now exercise as a result. But I wasn't great at taking notes in college, and now that I go to a video game tournament and I find myself in a similar situation where my test comes when the camera is pointed at me and I have to ask 3 to 5 very relevant questions about the game that I just saw to the player that is an expert on everything that just happened in that game. So there's my professor, there's everyone that's grading me, and I really hope that the notes I took are able to stand up in that moment. What you saw at MPL was probably the most successful iteration of my note taking during an event. But to kind of condense this into the point for you guys, as a host, and especially as a post match interviewer or a sideline interviewer, if you're interested in taking this into sports, um, you need to kind of see everything that's happening in the game at the moment, and then also rely on the context that's available for every game that's happened before that, every recent change to the game that's been made, everything that's going on with the players. And that's a lot to kind of put together in the moment. So the thing that I've figured out best for myself is, before I go and watch a bunch of players play in a video game tournament, I will get myself a brand new notebook. I will put in the front of that notebook all the information about the tournament, the title of it, the prize pool, the sponsors, all that big important information that I'm going to have to shout at you 80 times over the course of the weekend. That goes on the front page. Then I open it up and I start taking notes about every team in there. So I'll take the team, I'll divide it up by the players. I'll go on their Twitter. I'll see what they had for breakfast. I'll check in on their Wikipedia page and find out the past tournaments they played in, and any information that seems relevant, if they've recently been traded teams, or if they're having a bad day on the bus, on the way to the event. All that goes in the notebook. And then it's just having that on hand to kind of pull in the moment when you need to go on stage. You need to put that all into a story about their performance for the day.
It's almost like very journalistic, right? A lot of your process.
I strive for that. That's a high bar.
Yeah. And I assume that you weren't always like super good and refined. So which and going all the way back to more of the beginning of when you started, what was like one of the most memorable events where you learned a lot from in the starting parts of your career, the early 2010s?
Hmm. I would say I'm still not very refined, and I've just been lucky enough to fall into a realm of like on-camera presenting that kind of straddles the line between like celebrating professionalism, but also celebrating really authentic passion. And that's
Mhm.
something that I've been very fortunate to kind of um, I think that's kind of been one of the biggest factors in kind of keeping me at the top of the game right now is I'm sincerely passionate. I I care truly, and I live the gaming life day to day. I'm a dirty gamer that is wearing the same sweatpants she was wearing yesterday, but also like I know how to present for a larger audience, and so I would say the wake up moments have been consistent. They still come to me. I mean, I've been sitting home this past year doing hosting from my room now instead of on stage, in high heels with a full, microphone pack get up. It's a very different situation. I'm using way more arms than I ever used before. And it's been a lot of time just kind of reflecting. It's a perpetual process of really looking back on my stuff and looking at it as a viewer instead of as someone who wants to give herself a pat on the back. I'm
Mm.
always my biggest critic, and I think that that has been helpful. But I've always had also people in the industry to either talk me down from the ledge or to point out what I actually screwed up, and so I can address that and like let myself emotionally off the hook for that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people in this industry are like very passionate about esports, and they care a lot about their work too. So it's really hard sometimes being your own critic, right? Sometimes you
Yeah.
may be a little harsh on yourself, and building that support group is really important to kind of help you through all these moments. Can you speak a little bit on that? On like how you decided to, or like how you came about building your own support group, finding the right friends in the industry, and having that help you throughout your journey?
Sure. I think I support groups are what I have cultivated throughout my life because that's personally what I need to get through a situation, and I've been really blessed to have been successful the times I've tried to do this. In esports at large. Early on, I came into esports sort of with the support and ongoing support of my partner Trevor. So I've kind of always had someone to kind of check me and to go back to if things didn't make sense to talk things through with. But as my work has expanded in the space, one of the first people to really be on my team was Andrew Tomlinson. I started working for him in 2010 for Cyber Sports Network, and the relationship was he wanted to create a video content highlighting gaming news. Everyone comes into esports and they say, I want to make the esports report, daily esports news show. It's exhausting. You don't want to do that. Keep thinking. But I came in, that's what we were going to do. And so I was working on myself being a good on camera presenter, and he was working on me because he also wanted me to be a good on camera presenter because we could both make more money that way and we
Yeah.
could both get more work that way. And so that was a very like real concrete, like he is officially on my team. And so when I get feedback from him, even if it feels bad to receive it, it's in my best interest. And I was also blessed that Andrew is a kind and good person to his core and at no part sought to be a bad dude about this. But um, I had Trevor in the beginning, and then I had Andrew. And as Andrew grew the CSA Cyber Sports Network company, we had more people come in supporting our vision, supporting our efforts. We picked up people like Sue Lee and Anna Prosser along the way in the early days of esports, and that's where another awesome thing happened, where suddenly I had female friends who were in the same role almost exactly, dealing with almost exactly the same problem. And that is another support group that is essential to me, right? People who are really kind of close to the source material of what I'm dealing with. And so that was another really real perspective. And then I think of like NPL, like you have your on-set families, your show families. We went to the NPL studio, the OGN studio, like twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times
Yep.
sometimes. I saw Peter like more than I see my own family in 2019, 2018, I think. So you have to, wherever you are, whoever you're working with, it has to be like a team effort. And so I really tried to make OGN that family, that support group as well too.
Yeah, I think that camaraderie, right? We talked about that
Oh
is
yeah.
super important. Not only being professional with each other, like on, while we're working, right? But like even after we're working, we go out and we eat Korean barbecue or we hang out by the fire pit and just talk. or we just go out for boba or something, you know? And those moments also really help you learn more about yourself. But I also think like maybe even get better at your job without being in that work environment. You know, there's like two different ways to learn. I do miss those
Yeah.
moments.
It's just, learning to communicate. A lot of what we do on production sets, whether you're in esports or TV or whatever else, it's fast paced and you have to be able to. I have screamed down a hallway like, Peter, where's my shoes? And like Peter has shown up immediately, like, with my shoes. So, like, that kind of like, you're in the trenches with people on a production or, in a greater sense for the run of a competitive game, Overwatch talent, they're in the trenches. Counter-Strike talent, they're in the trenches and you're together and you're with those people and you're going to see them at events around the world. And so maintaining a good relationship, an appropriate working relationship, and then also camaraderie, never losing respect, but also, seeing each other as human. It's a tough line to walk, but the better you get at it, the more it's going to serve you in the industry.
Yeah, in that production environment, and I know that not everyone is. I mean, especially now in 2021, we're still a lot of it is online. But when we do have those production environments where everyone's working, there are a lot of cogs that move.
Hmm.
And we saw there were the PAs, which are the production assistants. There were the producers, the technical directors, all of that, and you having to navigate all of that is like a job within itself. So how do you like I don't want to say deal with it, but how do you navigate all of that and figure out like who to talk to in order to produce and help them produce the best show that, we can?
Well, I think I'll use OGN as an example for this, but uh, OGN as like on camera talent, I will say OGN just was so responsive and so awesome about how they set us up to do our best because um really like that's kind of what when we talk about camaraderie, like we're all trying to set each other up to do each other's best because that benefits, all of us in the end. You always want to talk positively to people. You always want to encourage. You never want to like cut somebody down and then they're about to go live and things go awful. So when you come in as on-camera talent, and this was the experience for me for I hope all the casters and analysts, production did a wonderful job of making us feel welcome. So we met our producers. They took us around the studio, introduced us, opened the door and said, "These are your audio guys. These are the visual, tech guys." And so if you're coming onto set and you can get a tour or you can ask somebody to be like, show me where people are, that's kind of the first step.
Mm.
um I still don't, I think, know like the exact breakdown, and this is partially because in a bunch of different productions a lot of these things are different, people wear different hats. Just blanket respect people and be kind and be thoughtful in how you talk to them, because sometimes I don't know if I'm talking to like the big money investor or the guy that came in to deliver the cookies. He's in the break room and he's friendly. So uh,
Yes.
knowing the production breakdown is great in the back of your mind to know that like, okay, I talked to the director for this, but if I have an audio issue, I go to that table and that guy, and if my mic pack is dead, I wave down, the person in charge of talent. um all that's going to change set to set. Just make sure you're asking people, I guess, when you get there.
Yeah. Shout outs to Winnie for feeding you, making sure that you're taking care of
I
the
don't know if I
churros,
can
hot
shout
dogs,
out
and drink.
Winnie in particular, but Winnie is every set needs an angel, and Winnie was ours. Winnie would fly in with churros for me, and then we would call them affectionately Game 3 hot dogs, even though they would arrive somewhere between Game 2 and Game 4. Mwah, always excellent. Um, yeah, we were very well cared for at OGN. It was super sweet.
Yeah. But things sometimes like it's a tough job, like there are really great moments that I think that's what makes working in esports worth it, right? The fun parts, the camaraderie, the friends that you make, the super exciting clutch games that you watch. But then it's not easy all the times. And would you let's talk about maybe when there are really tense situations or disagreements that happen internally, right? Well, for different reasons, for various reasons. How do you navigate those tight moments?
Yeah, there might come a moment on set where you need to advocate for yourself in opposition to maybe something that's happening. A great example is just like, hey, we didn't get all the shots we needed. We're going to need you to stick around for another 4 hours and do voiceover and stuff. That's a request that might come up, and there's a lot of ways to deal with it. First and foremost, I'm extremely lucky to have a manager, a representation that they figured out a contract, and so I can just say, yeah, talk to Kurt. I always say yes. I'm your talent. I'm happy and lucky to be here, but I'm going to just have you talk to my manager really quick because he knows what's in the contract and he knows if maybe I have to go home legally because of SAG rules, or maybe I already have something in my contract that says, yes, I get, time and a half, or maybe there's an opportunity for me to be like, well, I'm going to be really understanding. Yeah, I'll stay this time. Next time, let's figure it out. Next time, let's strategize around that. Those are decisions that, kind of you as a person are individually going to have to make. And I can't tell anyone how to make those decisions. I've made different decisions at different points a lot of times when I'm confronted with stuff like that. But here's where being courteous and, being upfront and an advocate for yourself without being a jerk is going to go a long way. I think it's great to have boundaries. I respect when people set boundaries, and yeah, I'm not sure kind of how to answer this one. There have been tough moments on set. Sometimes like a production has asked me to endorse something or to say a line that I'm not comfortable with, and I'll have to say, no, I'm not into that. No, I don't want to support that. Maybe that causes some tempers to flare. Maybe that makes extra work for other people. I try and be respectful of that. I try and say if there's anything else I can do, but yeah, I mean, we've been actually pretty lucky to not have any major strife moments, I think, on our esports set. And I'm going to find some wood to knock on. Oh, I say that, and then I was on stage for the Pokemon Go Fest, the first one in Chicago, and nothing worked. The internet didn't work, and people couldn't play the games, and somebody threw a water bottle at me. That was probably the most stressful and upsetting one. But I love Pokemon. I went back out on that stage, and I told those people, we have a lot to be happy about, and we did.
Nice. What was like? I know that was a pretty tough moment to deal with. I think anyone in your situation would be under a lot of stress. What did you have any like big takeaways from that?
Hmm. Um. I I afterwards I did a lot of self-examining about like what I actually need to be concerned about when it comes to my own personal safety. That was a big wake-up call for that. But more than that, it was a moment where I was on stage in front of an angry crowd in Chicago that threw something at me. And I stayed out there and I said what I needed to say. And then I went backstage and I cried. And I was like, that was the scariest thing. Like it was a big emotional upwelling from that. And then it was, first of all, the Niantic and the Pokemon Go company were phenomenal. They did everything they could to bring this problem down. They sat backstage with me and they actually sat down around the table with me. And a lot of these big production guys that were running the show and a lot of these very important people at the company were respectful, and they just leveled, and they're like, look, we're in a situation we didn't expect to be in. We could use your expertise. We could use the expertise of anyone that feels like they can share some. And it was this amazing camaraderie moment of all the egos came down. Everyone just wanted to fix the problem because we wanted to solve what was going on right here. And then we really, more than anything, wanted to make the experience better for the fans of the game, the people who came here to celebrate the thing that we were celebrating. It was Pokemon Go. We loved it. I love it so much. And all I wanted was for them to be happy because their trouble was also my trouble. And that was the first time that I really had to like kind of put my money where my mouth is. Like I did care as much as these people, even though I had been scared going out on that stage before. I said, well, I'm going to go back again. I don't want that to be my last appearance in front of these people and let them think they chased me away or that I'm hurt or that I'm sad. And I still want to give them joy. And so it was kind of cool. Like, I don't know, realizing what was important to me in that moment. And yeah, I also feel exceptionally lucky that like we work in video games. It's all fun. It's very happy. It's not like super serious. My heart goes out to people who have to stand on those stages for much more serious topics than I, because it's definitely something that other people have to reckon with on a much harder level. But I appreciated in that moment that I got to find out how much video games meant to me, how much the video game community, the people that share what I love, matters.
Yeah. I think I want to take a step back and kind of just reflect on some of the things because a lot of things were said, and you gave a lot of good insights. In terms of working around the production, and sometimes when things don't go right. Number one, you always stay professional. You know, um, you go back out there even when it's tough, and you get the job done. Two, you're always respectful. Right. That's the second thing I got from you is that you respect everyone around you. You always try to compromise. But then three, you also know your boundaries. You know where it starts and where it ends, and you know how to take care of yourself as well. And I think if anyone wants to learn anything, those three things are really good to take away for the start of your journey as a host and an interviewer for anyone who aspires to be one.
Oh, well, thank you. I can't say I came to any of those things easily. They've definitely are something parts of me that I'm still developing even after the past decade of working in this space. There were no esports hosts really before like the few people before me, right? The DJ Wheats and the Red Eyes and things like that. So we're still kind of figuring this whole space out, and that's a blessing in itself too.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think it's kind of like an inside joke or like a meme to me now that I'm like, oh yeah, in 5 more years, esports will be more mature. But I've been saying that for like 10 years, 15 years now, right? And we're still young, we're still learning, and we're always learning. But that's also what makes it really beautiful.
Yeah, it's a fun space. And for students out there that are looking for somewhere to be creative, I think esports is incredible in that the skills you pick up here working in esports, I feel like are really applicable if you want to take them outside of competitive gaming to entertainment, to sports, to any personnel management. I don't know if you guys have ever come across those articles that are like, if you've ever managed a World of Warcraft guild, you have CEO, level material. Like that's kind of how I feel. I've seen so many impressive people come into esports. Like Peter, I've worked in a lot of places. I don't think I meet people as competent as you and Winnie
Oh my god, thank
in
you so
places
much.
outside of esports. You have to wear a lot of hats, and the people that stick around are the people that are able to, I think, develop a lot of skills, but more importantly, be easygoing and easy to work with. Anyone can
Mhm.
learn, but not everyone can be cool about it.
That's true. How has esports changed for you over the last, decade or so? I'm assuming there was a lot, and it's probably changed your um perspective on the industry and the people working in it.
Yeah, I sleep in the beds in hotel rooms now and not on the floor in the corner with like 40 people crammed into one single convention hotel room. Um, I think like my experience has changed less than the scene has changed. Um, the One of the biggest things that came out over the course of me being involved in esports was the debut of Twitch TV. Before Twitch TV, the main focus of a tournament was delivering the excitement of what was going on at that tournament to the audience that was present at that tournament. Then we had Twitch TV come out, and suddenly we are performing esports for a global audience. And so it went from, saying like, hey, that's T squared, throw a t-shirt to that kid, like let's put some 5-hour energies into that audience. It became like, hey, everybody at home, you might have missed that last match where this and this happened, but now we're going to go to a sideline interview. We're going to show you this AR video. We're going to do a fly through of the map. Like there's so much more to help tell the story of esports that I just feel like I've gotten more and more in my arsenal over the years. It's been a very cool evolution. Like I said, so much to do if you feel like coming into esports and trying to do some stuff.
Yeah. I think it also helps too that the players are um maturing in the sense of like media preparation. They seem to
Yes.
be okay with talking a lot more now. Um, I must imagine in the past when players just wanted to be players and be good at the game and nothing else and wanted nothing to do with the camera, it was tough, right?
Yeah, the player awareness of the audience has changed a lot too. Because, like I said, a post match interview, if there was one at MLG 2007, was this guy in the crowd being like, "You're next," and pointing at somebody else, and you're on a stage 2 feet high, and you're pointing at somebody standing on the carpet 2 feet away from you, and that was the hype interaction. That was the thing that you're trying to showcase. That was the moment that you're trying to make. Um, and so those esports players without the camera on them could be a little more off the cuff. They could be a little more like insular in their language. You're like, yeah, I trippy three potted off the boof off. And, everyone there knew what they were saying. But now I am hosting like the Overwatch World Cup, and it's going to be on Disney Plus. So we have to say, like, hey, everyone, you're tuning in. The monkey is the tank. He's actually a scientist. Let me explain to you the whole story. Let me walk through the life story of this guy. Here's a video of him as a child. Here's the whole like package. And I'm getting a little like in the weeds in the description here, and I'm sorry, Peter. I had a lot of coffee before this, but
oh, it's okay. I guess.
Yeah, the point is we've got a lot more tools now. Players are more aware. They're aware that at the end of the match, they're going to have to come down and talk to me and talk into a microphone and address an audience. They know that they have to do that now. And that is a lot different than when we suddenly started doing that because Twitch TV just came out. We were catching a lot of players like out of nowhere who were not expecting to have to give interviews in those early days of esports. So we've learned how to ask better questions as your talent. And the whole scene is definitely improving.
Yeah. How has the scene changed for women in esports? I kind of want to touch upon that subject because well, you are one, and I think it's something it's a topic that's very very dear to your heart.
It's true. Yes, I think one of the things that's changed about esports, like people are like, oh, there's finally women in esports. Like, no, dude, there's always been women in esports. I got my start as part of PMS Clan, which was an all-female gaming clan. It was an incredible presence on the internet. My Team Fortress, like I played on co-ed teams. I played on all-girl teams. I always had, other non-guys to play with. It's been fantastic over the years. So my experience of esports started with Amy and Amber Dalton in PMS Clan inviting me to join the clan at one of the events that I showed up. I showed up to interview them for a school paper, and they were like, why don't you join our gaming clan? But yeah, there's always been women in esports for me. I was super blessed, like I said early on, to make friendships like Anna Prosser and Sue Lee in the StarCraft space, expand that into a ton of wonderful female friendships across the industry. But how has it changed for us? I would say because esports, by way of Twitter, by way of Twitch, by way of social media, the messaging of esports is now in the hands of the esports players and the esports talent, and we are messaging on behalf of ourselves. And the messages that are being shared about esports, the conversation, the media, the advertising is in our voice. And so you're not seeing like, here's a woman, here's a man, she's sexy in a bikini, he's in a t-shirt holding a bag of Cheetos. Like, no, you're seeing like Janet and Mary and Alex and Jim, and you're seeing people. A lot of early esports marketing was marketing. It was a lot of like, girls sexy, boys play video games and drink beer. And that mentality was kind of carried into the IRL space when everyone, puts down InQuest magazine and goes to an MLG event. Now it's been a long time. We've seen the breadth and depth of the esports, the greater esports and gaming communities. And so I think that the shit that used to be like, look at these hot girls photos in this like gaming magazine spread, nobody cares about that anymore. They're like, yeah, they've seen that, they're past that. That's like 90s shit. So I think that the industry grew up, but also like the world grew up and more voices were heard, and that really helped everything.
Yeah, social has really helped with all of your voices being heard and being able to take control of that narrative and present yourself in a way that you want to be seen to the world, and that's really powerful.
Yeah, I appreciate that part of social.
Yes. Me too. I guess moving on, I know we're gonna get questions soon, but really quickly moving on into the present moment, right? Because we talked about the industry growing up and everything. We're in a very weird spot. Right, with the pandemic and everything. And so what would you say from your perspectives, like the state of hosting in esports right now? Because it's not the usual, but it's kind of funny because esports has always been online, right? Like we started online, we became a lot, offline with the studios and everyone wanting to do LAN events, and now we're just back to being fully online. Kind of poetic, if you think about it like that.
Yeah, everyone started this pandemic like, this is esports time to shine. And esports is like, just give me a minute. And now it's January and we're like, just another minute, please. Like, you would think that it would be really easy to go back to competing online. And for the player, I think it has been a little bit easier. They don't have to travel. They don't have to get on a plane. They're playing in their comfortable environment. They're not changing time zones. They're not catching a cold at the airport. They're feeling their best and they're playing their best and they're playing in their most comfortable environment when they compete. Now we have all kinds of other issues because we can't verify tournament hardware. We have to worry about cheaters. We have to worry about backdoors that we don't have to worry about when people are playing on a LAN environment or, a box environment. Sometimes a game developer would just bring a big server to the event and it's air gapped. It's only for those players there at the event, so they could really control that game environment. So I would say tournaments have spent a lot of time figuring themselves out over the course of this. I know a lot of people have still tried to do in-person tournaments, and that's kind of been its own difficulty of, who can fly to where, yada, yada. I would say myself as a talent, it's been very difficult hosting events when I can't immerse myself in the event. That's something that I personally really benefit from, is the environment. Like when we're at OGN and we see the players in the hallway, I can grab a quick talk with, Sharky before, imagine Sharky talking to me, before the match, and kind of get player insight, and the energy is there, and I'm on that vibe. But when I'm home, man, it's hard. I mean, you're watching me on camera right now and you're like, people pay her? And I'm like, yeah, I do much better in high heels, on the middle of a stage. When I'm home alone, it's very distracting. Cat, he's being so cute. But that's me. I would say now's a wonderful time if you're thinking about getting involved in esports. The playing field has never been more level. Now is a great opportunity to work on your basics. Get yourself a camera, get yourself a setup, start streaming on Twitch, get comfortable talking down a lens. And when you come out into the greater world of esports, it's going to be a different landscape. I don't know who's going to be interested in hosting. I don't know who's going to work in this industry or want to, or maybe they've since moved on and gone to other. I don't know who's going to be there when we get out, so it could be you. So yeah, now's a great time to start really digging your heels into the esports casting industry.
That's how you get started, but then where would we put all this effort towards?
Well, Peter, I have sent you a checklist, which you are welcome to share with everyone. But if you're actually interested in setting yourself up, marketing yourself as an esports host or talent personality, you're going to have to dive into the social medias. I'm sorry for that, but it's the best way to do it. Get yourself a Twitter, get yourself an Instagram, get yourself a Twitch. Make sure that you are processing these accounts as part of your brand. They're a visible extension of your brand. I see a lot of people wanting to share personal things on there. That's good, but just remember, your Twitter environment, until we get out into the real world, is your office environment. So share as far as you would share with Karen from accounting. And make sure, you have all your contact information there. The best thing you can do right now is make yourself a reel. Cast over some games, do some interviews, whether you do it as part of a tournament or whether you just do it personally on Twitch. All that footage counts and looks the same when you chop it up into a reel. So cast over those games, do some interviews with your friends. Interviews are a great excuse to reach out to other esports personalities and start a conversation. They're mutually beneficial for both parties. Peter, thanks so much for hitting me up for this. But just get that footage, save that footage, and chop it up into a reel. That reel should be about 60 to 90 seconds long, very short, and it should just showcase you doing the entire variety of things that you think you can bring to the table. You'll see a lot of great reels pinned up on talent across the space, usually in that pinned tweet, or they'll share it out if you email them asking. But get examples of your work out there. That's going to stand for you.
And I also want to point out that you probably don't have to you can practice with offline games or VODs, or you don't even have to do real events in order to produce a reel, right? You could just talk to the camera producer, the best take, put that in. Is that right?
100%. Yep. Fake it till you make it too. If you want to cast a game 6 times and then present it as if it was the first time casting it, well, don't do that. That's not a good idea. But I think the other thing that should be mentioned with this, and I think I've hit on it a couple times, but be real with yourself first. Don't be a harsh critic with yourself, but look at your stuff before you show it to other people. Make sure it meets your bar of quality and then share it out. That's just going to be very helpful. A lot of people love to get other people involved right at that first step. And you gotta build that muscle in your own brain of looking at your stuff first, alone, reckoning with it. It'll make you stronger. It'll make you sad for a while, but it'll make you stronger.
Awesome. I think they're about to post the Google Docs, right? The Kelly and Rachel's big hosting doc. So thank you so much for that resource. Y'all are awesome. Shout outs to Kelly as well. She's another
That's Hello
awesome.
Kelly link on Twitter.
Oh hell yeah! All right, so we can now get into Q&A. So we got some questions that are posted in the chat for us. So as an esports host, what is the most exciting thing that has happened to you that you've experienced while hosting?
While hosting. This might also be an OGN story too, but we talked about I went to OGN. We worked for 2 seasons. Did we do 3 seasons, Peter?
We did
it was a long time.
We did 2.5 seasons plus CRL.
Plus Clash Royale League, yes. So we were in that studio a lot, and I got to know a lot of the talent that I was working with, the production, like I said, it kind of became that family atmosphere. And then it was my birthday, and you guys were so freaking cool about it. Like, they let me wear my Team Rocket shirt, which is just a big red R for Rachel, if you're from the trademark department. And then they were just like, I don't know, be weird with it, Rachel. And so there's a great shot of me eating a hot dog in front of the camera, and then Lauren pushing me out of the shot. And then at the end of it, I got to come up behind the casters on a scissor lift, holding a bunch of balloons and a potted plant and the rest of the hot dog. And I think the scissor lift got stuck. I don't know. It was just it's one thing when I get to do something that's part of the show. That's awesome. I've gotten to be part of an Amazon show where we blew up cars, whatever. That was what I got paid to do. That was their thing. OGN did that for me. They let me be weird in the middle of their production, and that was so special to me that I still think about that and smile all the time.
That was a very fun day. I remember during the graphics, I didn't do the graphics, but other people were doing it, and I texted Marcus. I was like, "Yo, what's Rachel's favorite color? What can we make this?"
You guys really came together for me. I appreciated it so much.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. The second question is, as someone who has been in the space for a while, do you have any advice for young people looking to get involved in esports? I'm guessing just as a whole.
Yes, actually. I would spend some time thinking about what it is that you really like to do. So I'm going to use the example of drawing, even though that is not the hobby that I make money on these days. But, if you are phenomenal at drawing, or maybe you just really, really enjoy it and you enjoy solving the challenges that come from art. You really want to figure out how to make your lines straighter, and you really want to figure out how to draw an eye to a part of a picture. You can learn all that and you can study that adjacent to a similar thing in esports, which is an example of what Winnie does. Winnie does graphics and visuals and productions. And so she hones her aesthetic in her hobby, and it's something she enjoys. And she brings that over to the esports space. So if you enjoy writing, there is scripting that needs to be done in esports. There's storylines. There's writing for the games themselves. Whatever it is you enjoy. If you enjoy taking pictures, oh my God, do we need photographers? We were so lucky to have the one amazing photographer that we had at OGN, and it's a specialty craft. So if you're looking to get involved in esports, just think about what it is that you really want to do, and then try and figure out how to involve it in esports, because there's a chance that we could really use your skills.
Awesome. So third question, what's the most challenging part of being talent in front of the camera? Is there anything you have to consistently remind yourself of before going live?
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, what's challenging for me is I don't have one of those filters. A lot of times I'll be like, okay, the camera's coming, Rachel, be cool, keep your arms down, deliver the information evenly. And I'm just like, hey, everybody, welcome to the show. I can't stop myself from being myself. And so all the editing that I do on what I want to present to the world as an esports host is editing that I have to do of myself as a person. Now, if you have a filter, if you can say deep breath, I'm going to explain this calmly. There I go. I did it, wrapping it up. Bless you. Flex that. That is a superpower that I don't have. But yeah, I don't even really remember the question. See, I get so into what just naturally wants to come out of my mouth. So I just really work on honing the core of my passion. So when I speak off the cuff, it's true.
I think you just like you said, you're very true to yourself, and you also embrace the positive side, the things that make you strong, right? Your superpowers.
Yeah. Superpowers.
Yeah. Definitely. Thank you. Oh my God. All right, so this is the last question that I have, and then we could talk about maybe one or two more things before we have to wrap up. But you talked a lot about your journey, given a lot of advice for aspiring esports professionals, and given us an in-depth look at what it's like to be a host. What would you say is a lesson you wish you would have known starting out in the esports, whether in college or postgraduate or even in high school?
Hmm. I would say that coming into a competitive space early on, I thought that the competitiveness that I was bringing to the games would also serve me interpersonally. Like I was really competitive, like, okay, how do I get the job that she has? I want to stand there. I want to be in that spot. And really what served me over the years was figuring out like, I instead of trying to like replace people, I always tried to stand beside people. And actually that has worked out way, way, way better. Um a couple times like oh gosh, it's a funny story to tell. Like way back in the day when people would just talk trash about each other on the internet. Some girl was talking trash about me and she didn't know me. And I went to go on her Facebook to go like be like, what's going on with her? Why is she talking all this and I friended her. And this is before you could like cancel a friend request on Facebook. So I quick had to be like, hey, why would I message her? Like, what's the big deal? I'd love to just talk this out. I'm not quite sure why you're upset with me. And she's like, oh my God, I don't know why I was being like that, and I'm sorry. And actually, you're really easy to talk to. We became friends. Like it was a mistake, but that was one of those really clear moments for me where it's like when you see people out there reacting, and let me caveat this with if you're going to be an on-camera person, people are going to have conversations about you, think thoughts about you, come to conclusions about you that have little to nothing to do with you. And so being able to kind of understand that and take that for what it was worth and process that for what it was worth really helped me um, sort through the feedback of what was useful and what was somebody else's problem. Um, and yeah, again, if you're going to be on camera, people are going to see you. And if people see you, they're going to have opinions about you. And it's just figuring out which of those opinions are useful, which of those opinions are just not speaking to you or not speaking actually really about you. I get a lot of stuff about blonde women. I am Rachel. I have a whole life inside of me, but somebody over there has an idea about blonde women and they're going to talk about blonde women and assume I'm one of them and whatever. um just choosing which battles you kind of want to fight, but also like hearing all that stuff about you and being able to kind of pick through that trash for the useful nuggets. um,
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
love
if I
that.
gave a good advice about how to do that, but just recognizing that that's going to be part of it.
Yeah, I think that's just something that comes with a lot of experience and self-reflection and just learning how to do that. It's not something uh I think can be taught, but it's just like as long as you know the concept of figuring out what's good and what's bad and trying to discern between them, right, will help make your life so much easier as an on-camera talent.
Yeah, just being, and again, that's where having having a cohort, having someone who understands your job, what you're trying to do, and can help you kind of process that information is really important. Every time I finish a gig, every time I came off that stage, Peter, I was like, I suck, I'm terrible. And
What?
yeah, dude. And we had our awesome, producers. I would finish an interview and I would be like, that was bad. I didn't like it. Something was wrong. And I would hate myself and not know. And then our wonderful production guy, Luke, or would just be like,
Harry?
yeah, Perry. Luke or Perry would be like, well, you could have asked a follow up question here and you kind of cut him off there. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Those are actionable items that I can think about, strategize around, not do in the future. And now I have a way to not hate myself. And like, that is so useful because otherwise I would have just vaguely gone around being like, that was terrible. I'll never, uh, ask for feedback. And more important than asking for feedback, platform that feedback. Let the people that you're asking for feedback know that you really want to know it. You're not there to argue with them. You're there to hear it. That's a big part of it.
Love that. You also like dinged something with your pen and it was like
Right.
perfect timing.
You can see
Perfect
how much
timing.
coffee I've had.
All right. So that is all the questions that we have. We do have to close soon, but I want one time like we could go about this forever.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's just so much information. But one thing that you did touch upon here and there, but I know is super important to you, and your job as a on-camera talent, as a host and an interviewer is storytelling. Can we speak of just last topic? How important is storytelling in esports and making that presentable to an audience who might or might not even understand what's going on?
storytelling requires a really intense awareness of your audience. One of the things that we had presenting to the NPL audience is we had an audience that we knew who was mostly locked in for a league, a season's worth of content, who knew the game, who were showing up for these players. And so knowing who was about to watch NPL, I could get a sense for what kind of questions to ask. I don't ask, wow, how do you keep your mouse hand so steady? Which I might ask if I was presenting to a bunch of parents at a mall. But because I'm talking to the PUBG audience, I say, you know, on that third circle, you approach from the northwest, but you guys are getting pincered. What point did you realize that, you know, the other team was coming in from the southeast there? And yeah, so that'll let you kind of tell the story aware of the context that your audience has. One thing as an interviewer that I always think is helpful is thinking of things chronologically. So I usually run through my interviews over the course of like, okay, the very beginning was you on your way to the studio. Then it was you sitting down at the desk with your team. Then it was you talking strategy. Then it was the game. Then it was the important moment in that game. And now it's after that moment. And so, you know, I wouldn't go into an interview thinking like, here's the 6 questions I'm going to ask. But I would go into that interview thinking like, how did we get to here? And drawing on the context that we both had about how we got to here. So if you're going into interviewing, I don't know if that's a helpful tip for you, but think about it just kind of chronologically of beginning, middle, and end of your story.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you so much. Is there anything or anyone you wanted to shout out before we end? This is the floor has been yours, but it's like super all yours. Go ahead and say whatever you want for closure.
Well, thank you so much, Peter. First and foremost, I gotta shout out you, Peter. I saw your name in the email and I was like, instant yes, whatever it is. What are we chasing down mosquitoes in the Serengeti together? Oh no, we're doing an interview. Easy yes. I don't know. That was such a random.
It's okay. That's you.
Thanks for being friends with me, Peter, because I'm a weirdo. I have to shout out the people I've talked about over the course of the story. My incredible partner, Trevor, aka Torch. He has his own incredible esports journey where he played in the first season of Global StarCraft 2 League in Korea and has since gone on to do a career casting League of Legends, now working at Blizzard for Overwatch. Huge source of support and also very plugged into the scene, able to give me incredible feedback over my journey over the years. Andrew Tomlinson hired me a decade ago. Still an incredible person to work for, fight and die for. We have an amazing agency and we recruit incredible people. Kurt, you're part of that too. Kurt always takes care of us. And Anna, Sue, Kelly, you know, all my girlfriends who keep me grounded. DJ Wheat for being an incredible person and kind of putting that first set of footprints in the snow that I've been kind of trying to step into all this time. And yeah, esports is awesome. Thank you guys all for watching and being interested in it. I know you all have things inside of you that you want to share with the world. And if esports could be the runway for you to get that all off the ground, I'd be so excited for you.
Oh my God. Yeah. Thanks for accepting coming on to, you know, this last panel of the night.
Peter was attached. Yes.
It was so crazy because at NPL we were talking and I was like, hey, I want to do hosting stuff too. And you got all excited and you were telling me stuff. And now like the interviewer is interviewing the interviewer.
The turntables. It's different now.
It's different now. Yes. Sometimes we lose our words too.
I definitely didn't give you an easy interview. So thank you for being excellent.
Oh, this was wonderful. All right, everybody. Thank you so much to all the audience out there, to all the viewers watching and the students learning. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Also, thank you, special thank you to our sponsors, Corsair, MSI, Cloud9, Twitch Student, and College Cardball Associations for supporting Collegiate Rising. Please join the C9 University MSI Student and Corsair's Discord servers. I'm pretty sure the links should be provided in the chat. And if you look down below in the Twitch panels, all the Uconnect social media is over there. So the links are provided. Please go ahead, follow them. They are an amazing organization doing great things for collegiate esports. And if one more thing, when you're down there, you probably will notice a Gleam giveaway, and you can enter that to win products and swags from all of our sponsors I just mentioned. And that is it. That is the end of Collegiate Rising. Thank you so much once again for everybody, the staff, the speakers, the moderators, Rachel, for being a part of this. And we will see you guys in the near future. Have a good night, everybody.